Good afternoon, friends. Good afternoon, friends. Let's have some energy. Lavanya was just telling me that we need more energy in this session. So let's do it together because discount, I believe, is being talked about since the morning today. And we will actually delve deeper into it. We will go not discount not only as a small part of the entire discussion, but this entire discussion is mainly for discounts, for end of season sales, other sale, all those things. We'll dig deeper into it in today's session. And I have a very august panel. Here we have Vipin, who runs large format stores in North India and Rajasthan. We have Lavanya Nalli of Nalli Sarees. They have different categories. Then we have Lavanya Pachisia. She is the CEO for Zivame. And then we have Dev. Dev is the CEO and Executive Director for Lifestyle. So thanks for joining today's session. So friends, when we talk about discounts, I would just like to go a little back in the history. How it started, when it started, why it started. So before 2007, 2008, at least I don't remember that there were anything in India at that time which was called end of season sale or discount. There were some sporadic events here and there, but it was not in a formalized manner. Some brands would do it, but most brands wouldn't do it. And then came the great crash of 2007-8. It perhaps became the necessity at that time because the inventory had accumulated in the last 2-3 years, just before the recession, that brands needed to liquidate that inventory. And they started giving discounts to liquidate the old inventory so that the new inventory comes in and the customers find freshness. At the same time, obviously, there were a lot of pressure on the top line and the bottom line both. And on the top of it, we have so much of inventory sitting idle, we need to liquidate. And then the second part. So what happened in 2007-8 actually stayed after that. It never went away. The end of season sale that started as a formal, very normal thing for all the retailers and for the customer, that it will happen twice a year. Maybe about 30 days or 45 days on each cycle. And then mid-2014, many of you would remember that in mid-2014, around May or June of mid-2014, online started entering India. And they unfortunately started capitalizing on discounts, on lower pricing, on price differential. At that time, offline was not so geared. Offline was not so accustomed to this new technology. All of a sudden it came and it started bombarding. Customers obviously got used to it. They started shifting towards online. And the offline retailers at that time, because at that time there was a clear demarcation between online retailer and offline retailer, which doesn't exist anymore. But that time, offline retailers also felt the need of liquidating the inventory to bring the customer to their stores, and they started giving higher discounts. Then that discount also stayed with the industry, and it continued despite the fact that all the retailers started getting online. Online guys started coming to offline channels. And then again, the next big event, which is pandemic, COVID, that happened. And that again brought the necessity of giving higher discounts to at least bring the customers, liquidate your inventory that was accumulated. And the discounts that were earlier seen as, let's say, twice a year event, it became so frequent. In fact, I give you an example. In India, we had never heard of an event called Black Friday before that. And Black Friday started in India at that time. It started with only 4 days. Last Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday of November. But in this time, if you look at the last November, we all were surprised to see that the Black Friday is not a 4-day event anymore. Lot of brands, they started giving Black Friday 1 week before the Black Friday, the actual Black Friday, and continued till 1 week beyond Black Friday. So this has brought a new culture. A culture where customers are brought into the stores again and again with the help of discounts. It's a discount-driven sale. So in fact, if I take it in a very light-hearted tone, in case of online, it is said that they have only one season, which is a discount season, and which starts from 1st January every year and ends on 31st of December every year. Now, we need to understand that discount is necessary. Is this what will stay here? Or we can go beyond that. Maybe we can bring the customers back to our stores with the help of our new merchandise, the craftsmanship, the tradition, and all those things. And that is what we will discuss today with different type of business executives. We have, I will start with you, Dev, first on this, because you are not a single retailer. You are not a single brand retailer where normally in case of single brand retailer, they have their own channel, which is EBOs and those kind of things, where to some extent they can control the discount. But in your case, you are an offline marketplace. You have so many brands under one roof. Those brands, at times, they are, pardon me for saying that, but they need to participate on those sales period where even in their other channels, they might not be doing any sales. But in your channel, because your channel starts end of season sale a little early as compared to the other EBOs. So in your case, how do you think that this is panning out? Is there any way that you could also match your end of season sale period and other discount events with the normal EBOs, etc.? Of course, I'm not saying that you have to compete with online because they're on discount throughout the year. But in your case, specifically because you're an offline player and you have so many brands under one roof. So if you could please throw some light on this.
Yeah. So thanks, Rajesh. So we are a house of brands, like you said. So a lot of what we do is a function of what the brands want to do, right? 70 to 72% of our business comes from brands that we trade in. And most of our business plans, a lot happens in collaboration with brands, right? So, and we agree on periods and then we go ahead as per that. But coming to sale, right? I think, let me start by saying that discount and sale is not a bad word, right? It's actually needed in a category like fashion, because in fashion, it's a tail category. And you know, there are head categories and tail categories. For me, a mobile phone is a head category. There is only one SKU, or 5 SKUs, that sells the maximum. In fashion, you create like 2,000 options for a season. And then it's physically not possible to have 100% sell-through, right? Best of brands, whether it is Indian or global, will have 80 to 85 to 90% sell-through in a season. So you have to liquidate the 10-15%. So you need the sale. And that's why it's called end of season sales. So, right, that's how it all started. But after that, what started happening is it started attracting a lot of footfalls. A lot of brands started wondering if consumers are coming in, it's just not about liquidating unsold inventory. It is actually also a channel or a period where you can actually improve your sales pattern, right? So that's the evolution of sale. But I think the onus of this sale is not actually with the consumer, is actually with us as brands. Because I've also seen over the last 20 years how end of season sale has evolved. It started off just like saying 1 week, just, you know, broken sizes, just kill those stocks, to up to 50% off. Then it became flat 50% off. Then it became flat 60% off. And then all these became more of a marketing channel to drive consumer footfall, because when you go to a store, it is actually not flat 50. A very few options are at flat 50, the rest are all at full price. So it's actually abuse of the word, right? I think all of us in this room are also to blame for this. I think all of us in this room collectively have to decide what we want to do with sale. I think the onus is on us. Having said that, there are many, if you go to different countries, for example, in the Middle East, you can't just do a sale. You have to first apply to the government in the Middle East, and they will also decide what you want to call it. Do you want to call it a full sale? You want to call it a mini sale? Or you want to call it a up to 50% sale? It's regulated by the government. In India, there is no regulation. And neither do we want regulation from the government. But having said that, we have a lot of industrial bodies. We have RAI, we have images, this forum where the top industry team members are there. And I think we can sit together and say, how do we really want to drive the sale period? See, margins under pressure is the same across the board, right? Everyone feels the margin pressure. I think the bigger challenge all of us are facing is not so much discount and sale. The bigger challenge is where is the growth going to come from? Because the end product is the sale. A lot of companies say, I'm going to plan for a 15% growth, and you buy merchandise for a 15% growth. Now, after 4 months, if that 15% growth does not happen and you already bought the merchandise, then what do you do? So that's the challenge. I think it's not one conversation about how to manage discount and sale. To me, the larger point is how do we drive growth? Because when growth happens, discount will come down, is my view.
So just want to ask you once again, and pardon me for saying that. Normally, in case of large format offline retailers, what we have seen is, like yours, that your end of season sale starts slightly earlier, maybe a few days earlier than the normal end of season sale by different brands in their different EBOs. So is there any strategy behind it? Does it help you? Does it get you some more share of wallet? How does it happen, and does it not dilute the brand's equity outside your channel?
No, see, this is a function of what the ecosystem is playing. So it's not just, we are just one large format retailer. There are many large format retailers. There is online, digital, and so on and so forth. I think if all of us agree together and say, this is the period when all of us want to go, I think that's best for all of us. And I have seen one thing. USA started as a 2-week program. Now it has become an 8-week program. Actually, if you look at the numbers, the first 2 weeks actually gives you the highest sale. And it just keeps on tapering as you go along. So we're realizing it actually doesn't matter. The sale happens in the first 2 weeks. There's no point extending it to 8 weeks. You can even extend it to 10 weeks. It doesn't matter. Sale doesn't change. So I think it's important that all of us come together, number one. And what you're saying is important because one brand going on sale, customers don't come. The entire ecosystem has to go on sale. Like the way you mentioned the Black Friday, when the entire retail fraternity does a promotion together, then consumers come, right? So we prefer not to do it before, but then everyone has to come together. And I think that's when you see the upside.
Sure. I will definitely have more questions around what you just said, A, about the regulations, and B, having the similar kind of end of season sale across the board for all of us. I will come back to you later, or maybe I will come back to Lavanya, Nalli now. Lavanya, you deal in different categories. Your products, if I correctly remember from our last conversation of a few months back, you sell products in the same store, which starts from 2,000 rupees and goes up to 2 lakh rupees, or maybe beyond that on either side. So in your case, what do you think? Because you are in a unique position. So in your case, the customers, which category is there in which the customers seek more discount or sale kind of period things? Or are there any other categories in which the customers don't bother about the discount? They would prefer to have good quality, they would have tradition, they would have a story built around those products. So what are those categories that you feel? You go on end of season sale discount, am I right? Oh, you don't go on this, okay. Sorry. Great. But do the customers ask for discounts?
So I'll take that question couple of ways. One, first, it's not 2,000 to 2 lakhs. Actually, it starts from even 200. Saris can start from around 400, 500, even
okay.
Is online. And literally yesterday, Nalli Fashion, we sold 3 saris which were 5 lakhs and above each. So, but that's pure zari, pure, like gold and all of that. So there is a big spread. But to
sorry, I'm just asking you because you said you don't give discounts. So even online you don't give discounts?
Absolutely not.
Not even online?
Not since 1940, and I don't think that's likely to change.
Amazing.
But
you are becoming an example for all of us, actually.
But it's a very different philosophy. And I think it's more, in our case, it's a question of like, you have to pick your battles. See, once you get on the discount train, you're on a treadmill, right? It's an extremely powerful lever. To really extract juice from that lever, you almost have to change your entire business model around that. So I'll give you an example. What would it take for me to provide discounts to my consumers? Today, we work on a razor-thin margin, right? In fashion, to have these kinds of margins is unheard of. It's almost bordering on how grocery has margins, right? I won't reveal what they are, but I mean, it's very difficult for you to find something like that at a retailer for that quality and those specifications and so on. So fundamentally, the way that it works is like, we have a very strong vendor network. We are constantly negotiating with our vendor network, right? It is about building those deep relationships with the vendors, but it's also about thinking about it in the long term, right? With your vendors, if you basically work it out to say, look, on an absolute level, you want to make, you want this engagement to be profitable. Now, you can do that on a margin per item, and you can bloat it. And then we are like an also-ran, we're pretty much costing as much as any other player in the market. Or you can think about it to say that, look, maybe this is the moat, right? For Nalli, this is the moat, that you can get a pure Kanjivaram, a pure Zari, whatever it is, like you can break down the specifications of that product. I guarantee that you cannot find this in any other store because I know what the margins are in the industry and I know what they, what they are for us. There are a few other brands, right? There's Tulsi, Sundaris, there's a few of these very large scale sari brands that follow a same philosophy, but it requires extreme focus in order to make this work. Now, if someone comes and you have a razor-thin margin and says, can you give me a 5%? But someone else is giving me 15%. Yeah, but for me to give you 15%, right, I already need to have baked that in, right? But the way that we work, packaging is very rudimentary. Like it's nice, it's practical, it works, but we don't do the bells and whistles, right? Marketing, we spend very little, right? We don't do discounts because that's a whole game by itself. And coming to the question about are there certain categories and are there certain categories that are sort of protected against discounts, the short answer is I don't think so. I think it's less about the category. I think it's more about the brand. See, a brand can protect itself, but it requires that kind of a focus and also that kind of a trade-off. You have to compromise on certain things. Right? You probably have to compromise on that kind of exponential growth and scale, which comes because you work with a whole bunch of other industry players. All right, cool, we'll work out something like 5%, and then we'll work out something at a 3% of top line, we'll work out. For that, you need the kind of margin to make that possible. But if you give that up and you say, look, customers who know that they will come to us, like I said, like the example I'll give you, yesterday we had a wedding-related customer who came and they picked up 3 saris, each of them ranging from 3 lakhs to 5 lakhs each. No comparison shopping, right? They just walked straight into the store, saw it, liked it, right? There's also a very deep trust, right? Then they wanted to pick up other products, which is not for the bride and friends of family of the bride, where they had a budget. And we did get that conversation. In fact, we had this discussion literally last night where the salesperson was, sort of giving us a download on it, where the customer said, yes, but then in this other store, I see that, I'm able to get a pure Zari, pure whatever, for 20,000. Here it is 30,000. We broke it down for the person and we said, look, ma'am, I guarantee it is not a pure Zari because there's no way. If you're talking about a brocade sari, just do the math, right? Like it's the consumption of Zari is so much and the cost price of gold is so much, it is impossible for you to get something like that. What you're probably getting is something that looks like it, but there is a compromise somewhere, right? Either on the labor cost, it's being done in a different place, not in Kanjivaram, or on the Zari or on the raw material cost, or it may not even be pure silk. I do think it is pure silk, but maybe it's not pure silk. So a lot of customers come to us because they also know that, look, I can trust this company. If they say it's 20,000, it's worth 20,000. That becomes your moat, right? Brands like us have extremely high repeat customers, right? It's not about getting the other customer. It's not about building awareness. It's not about reaching out to those consumers through discounts. It's a slower growth, but I think it's a sticky growth.
But see, so what Dave just said, and I completely agree with him, at least for the categories that Dave deals in, and part of those categories we also deal in, like fashion apparel. Uh, why do you say that end of season sale is bad? End of season sale is indeed required to flush out your old inventory so that you can bring freshness into your stores. Otherwise, the customers can't keep coming to you again and again to buy the same product. How do you manage? How do you, so in your case, you don't need to liquidate the old inventory, the old merchandise which the customer has already seen, and bring the new inventory? How long can you continue to sell the same kind of style color in your store again and again and bring the same customer again? You said you have a very high repeat customer base, which we also do, but at the same time, we also bring freshness.
Right. So, how long can we continue to? I put it, we're almost around 100 years. So I think, let's see, hopefully we'll be able to, keep up with with the way that we've been doing business for a little longer. One correction. I don't want to say end of season is bad, right? It's a different business model.
Yeah.
For us, it doesn't work. But then how do we sort of confront this problem? The GMs at our store are extremely powerful. We don't have a merchandising division. We don't have a marketing division. We don't have a business development division. We don't have a strategy team. We don't have a team of analysts, right? The GM is all powerful. What we do is we basically tell him, boss, you don't have discounts. You don't have this little lever. Yes, it's effortful. But then that's why, take the right bets. In addition to that, what we also do is we basically tell now, okay, put yourself in the let's play this game. Let's put ourselves in the head of a GM, right, or a store manager. I have a finite shelf space. My job is to ensure that I only look at sales and I look at inventory turnover, right? And I know that my lower price inventory, and I know that certain categories are going to be fast moving, and I know that certain other categories are going to take a longer time, right? Probably that 2 lakh sari is going to take 4 months, 5 months on the shelf, but probably a sari which is like 5,000 rupees or a sari that is organza or cottons is going to turn over every 15 days, right? So if I play my cards right and I'm very smart about it, I'm going to have an extremely high sell-through rate for my merchandise which is in certain categories, and that's going to offset the other merchandise that I need from an assortment standpoint. If I focus on inventory turnover and I focus on maintaining a positive cash cycle, like I said, if you break it down at a granular level and you go by it category by category, price point by price point, yes. A Kanjivaram sari which is above a certain price point, which is for a bridal customer, your average days to sell is probably going to be higher than, say, 30, right? And your vendor payments is probably going to come due in 30. But for something which is, say, a cotton sari, right, which is 1,000 rupees or below, if you work your math right, you can generate a positive cash cycle from this to be able to fund the pieces that are going to drive the high-end customers into your store. If we do this really well, a good GM will sort of recognize, and like we consider them good GMs, right? Like because what we want is those kinds of leaders where we say, look, you have total autonomy. There's no central buying unit. We're not doing the math and telling you, you need to stock this and at these levels, and there's nothing. Assortment, you have total empowerment, complete autonomy. Do what it takes, but I don't want to see stocks piling up on the shelf. I don't want to see slow inventory turnover. I want to see profitability. I want to see sales, right? This is what we focus on. So when you give them that level of autonomy, yes, it's effortful, it's a lot of strain, but we feel confident in saying that because we give you so much autonomy, I'm going to take away this like discount. Discount is a very lazy feature. You want to sort of like bump up sales, it's very easy for you to say, okay, put one 3%, put one 4%, put one 5%, but I'm going to remove that, right? Instead, you flex on the merchandise. Go into the ground, right? Figure out what your consumers want, and the different types of consumers, and then build your shelf on the basis of that. And by the way, even for the GM, run your cash flow so that it's going to be a positive cash flow. So it's a lot of empowerment. It comes with a lot of responsibility, but because of that, they can take these kinds of calls and they don't need to rely on things like discounts.
So your inventory gets managed in such a manner that you don't need an end of season sale to liquidate that inventory because you're able to make sufficient sale during the fresh period itself. I mean, for you, it's not a fresh period or end of season, but you're saying that on full price itself, you can continue to sell and manage your inventory. But tell me one thing, like today, end of season sale or discount events, they're not only for liquidating the old inventory anymore. They have become a source of revenue, a source of increased revenue. In your case, don't you think that if you were to offer some discount during end of season sale, you will have more customers, you will be able to enhance your top line and perhaps bottom line also because you will get economies of scale at that time. You don't think that that will work well, or you think it's better to maintain your brand sanctity, you want to have the brand equity also?
I'll answer it this way. See, there are certain, and I'll answer it maybe as a consumer, right? Not as a business owner. There are certain brands, I just want it no matter what. I'm not going to buy a BMW because it's on discount. Right? I want a BMW because it's a BMW, right? It's a powerful machine. Maybe it's a status symbol, right? I want that product. And I'm willing to pay what they're selling it at because I see the value in it. And I think for us, our entire philosophy and business model comes from that sort of belief.
Okay, that's a nice thing. But just one last question, and then I'll come in the second round. This not giving discount is prevalent in your industry, in your category, or it's only few players who don't give discounts and there's other players? I'm talking about established chains of retail ethnic wear. Most of them, they don't give discounts, or some of them do and some of them don't?
I think it comes down to the brand. But right, we'll think of the large sari players, right? Like this, and I don't know how many people in the room are sort of familiar with those brands. But if you are familiar with those brands, like has Sundari Silks gone on discounts? Does Tulsi go on discounts? Does Sabyasachi go on discounts? Does Raw Mango go on discount? Does Nalli go on discount? Does Kumran stores go on discounts, right? GRT does, I don't know how many thousands of crores in a year. Do people shop there because they go on discount? So discount is a very powerful lever. But you almost need to completely hardwire your entire business model around it, right? For us, I think we've taken those calls to say that, look, we're going to focus on low margin, but very high quality, right? High repeat customers, high inventory turnovers, and cash flow. And because of that, we've been able to sustain in this industry.
Great, thank you very much. And I'll come to you, Vipin, now. Vipin, you have stores in north of India and Rajasthan, and you run them very wonderfully. I've seen several of your stores. They look so beautiful. But when it comes to the local nuances, the regional preferences, do you manage those regional preferences with certain local strategies behind it? Or you also do the uniform discounting, and that is how you would drive most of the customers across all your stores? Or are there any specific localized strategies that you drive so that the customers would come back to you again and again?
Yeah. One thing is for sure, I am the oldest discounter. So I discount.
Could you please bring it closer to your mouth? Yeah.
We discount regularly because that is our necessity. We are sitting on the colder place. And our season changes. We have a 4 season, spring, summer, autumn, winter. So we have to change our collection every 6 months, totally. So what we collect for our stores for first 5 months, what we sell, 6 months we have to liquidate everything. So stores should be new for the winter season where the collection, color, even the fabrics become heavier. Everything changes in the store. So that is our necessity. That's why we are discounting from last 35 years. It's a normal thing for us. But earlier when the discounts were less, but now the discounts are more because brands have started fighting in the market when they, when you get a Zara, H&M, when they move in the market, and when the international brand came to the market, they started discounting in December. Earlier when we were handling, it was 15th January and used to finish by 7th February. Now the discount period increased because of these companies. Now your question to your answer, what we do differently, we keep a check on the weather. If the weather is becoming colder, we'll not sell our jackets and sweater. We'll keep on selling till the time weather, or maybe lesser on discounts. But as the weather we see the forecast in next 2 weeks is changing into summer, we increase our discounts, we liquidate that stocks. Plus what we do is all our stores are connected to each other. So we don't keep anything in the warehouse, we don't have warehouse. We don't have, all the stocks are in the stores. Our transfers of stocks, where it is selling faster, where it is selling less, so we remove that every third day. So every brand gets a sufficient selling, maximization of selling in the fresh also, as well in the discount period also. So we keep on, because that is our necessity, to change the store to the fresh, new collection, new everything.
So I believe that you work mostly on consignment model.
That's right.
Where the brands would send their merchandise to you, and if there's something is remaining unsold, you'll send it back.
Yes.
So in that case, the decision for discounting, etc., is driven by you or by the brands. And I think in some cases, you also own the inventory or you take all the calls?
No, we don't own the inventory at all.
Okay.
But the brands we just suggest which product they have to discount less.
Okay.
Because rest of India, they might be discounting, but those products are not there.
So you do have that kind of nuances that you will tell the brand that
We
don't
always
discount,
discuss it. Like,
don't give deep
jackets,
discount.
you may not go on discount this time.
Oh.
Sweaters, you may not go on discount. Because, every brand, if you look at it, how many jackets and sweaters, because they are doing whole India. So for North India, they are not producing much. Or they are importing much. So each brand will have 6 to 8 styles of jackets, which are not much.
Ah.
Most of the brands stop producing woolen garments. They are all doing cotton garments now. Even the knitwear is cotton. That's why we get some of the woolen garments for our stores specially. And there we play very
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But when we were having a conversation just before the session, you told me that this year you were able to reduce your discounts by almost about 3 to 4%.
That's right.
How did you do it?
Because this time...
I think that will be interesting to know for everybody, all the retailer, that how you can reduce the discount and not impact your sale or flushing out the old inventory. Am I right? Am I right there?
What happened, most of the brands, this time they have gone for a bundle discounting rather than a flat discounting. When you do bundle discounting for a 20% one garment, for 30% two garments, when they do that, the second garment, when they buy 30%, the one garment is cheaper and one is... So the discount reduces. One, they have done that. Along with that, inventory control has started happening. So this time, every brand has reduced 10 to 15% stocks in the stores. So the leftover is lesser. So they are not under pressure to really run for a 40% discounting. Or if they have gone to 40%, only for the assortment they have gone. So almost 4 to 5% overall impact in the discount has come in.
That's amazing. In fact, Dave, you were also saying something to the same the thing that you this time. How did you manage reduction in discounting this year?
So we went brand by brand, and for example, see, there are 2 reasons why you discount. One is you plan for a certain sales, and if that sale does not happen, then you're left with a lot of inventory and you have to discount. See, actually, most of the brands came out of a fantastic year in 22-23. And a lot of brands, including us, we thought that trend is going to continue, and we bought for that growth. And when that growth suddenly sort of tapered down, we were left with a huge amount of inventory. I think many of us were smart enough to plan well. We bought less. I think the inventory levels across the industry today, I can, because we deal with a lot of brands, I feel the inventory levels have come down to manageable limits. So therefore, the need to give discount itself has come down. In fact, we are seeing a slightly higher percentage of full price sales compared to last few years.
Amazing. Is the time over already? No, I can't. I have Lavanya. She has such interesting things to share. She just touched upon it. Sorry. Yes, okay, Lavanya. No, you take your own time. Anish keeps saying these things. So you please take your time because you have a very interesting take on what you just told me about the discounting. If you could please tell me, you have large presence online as well as offline, and I was very surprised, pleasantly surprised to hear when you said that you have almost 50% contribution from online and offline. How do you manage this perfect combination of online and offline and the discounting on those channels?
Yeah. So Rajesh, like I was mentioning at Zivame, obviously we started as an e-commerce player and then came into offline. So today we have more than 175 stores. We are present in all large format stores and we also have distribution. So actually I feel, so for us, we don't look at discount. Yes, discount is a lever. But what we look at is actually true pricing for the customer, okay? I'm very happy to say that we ensure that the pricing for the same product across all channels is uniform. So whether she buys, the bra from our own EBO store, or she buys it on Zivame.com, or she buys it on marketplaces like Ajio, or she buys it in large format stores or in trade, we ensure that we have uniform pricing, okay? So discount is just a way of communicating to the customer for us, especially, see, when we started online first, discount is something which you have to communicate because that is the terms of trade. That's how that kind of offers. But slowly we have understood and we have moved more to actually what is true pricing. And discount is a way of medium of communication to the consumer. So we know what price, what is the margins we kind of make, what is the rock bottom price which we will not kind of go below, and how do we kind of ensure that all channels, irrespective of what we sell, actually make margins at the end of the thing. So we look at it more from a consumer perspective. She is not bothered where she's buying. She just has to be promised that irrespective of where you buy, the product is still at the same price. So I think so that's how we view our pricing to the consumer, where we keep them at core, and discount is just a medium of communication.
Amazing. In fact, we got different perspectives. I have a lot more questions, but I'm sure Anish will not allow. He's showing me that he'll kill me off. But do I have time for one or two questions? No. One question, sir? Vineet, yeah. Dosti ke naam par. One question he is allowed. One question, anybody? Chalo, okay. Vineet saves you. Okay.
Hi, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I heard your conversation with Nalli ma'am. I missed your name, sorry, but that was quite an interesting discussion. You both were having quite a good questions you asked, Rajesh. And I want to ask you, ma'am, first of all, let me tell you, my all marriage saris are all from Nalli's, and they are still there, shiny and glowing. Yeah. I have a 20-year-old child. Okay.
Trust you for that.
Thank you for that. Okay, so the question is, quite interestingly, you said that I appreciate you rely on repeat customers. I also appreciate that you empower your GM, you're the store manager with lots of, stuff and accountability so that he takes care of your business. Just want to ask, you said, once in the discussion you said you don't have marketing teams, you don't have analytics team and all. How do you make sure that your GM or your store manager have the 360-degree customer profiling, the customer behavior, the customer preferences? Don't you think that is limiting the opportunity to tap new opportunities, new markets? Might be from data analytics you may get, or might be, from that marketing and analytics sides you may get?
So this is not related to discount. This is a much deeper question about your business and the growth of the business, the way you adapt to your new technology, etc.
Right. So I'll try and be quick. So the short answer is, you may be right. There could be more that we can do, right? So that's the first thing that I will acknowledge, because we must adapt. How does the GM get empowered? Our finance team is very strong. Honestly, it's the only number we care about. And there's a saying, right? Like, top line is vanity, bottom line is sanity, and cash flow is reality. So I think, if we internalize that, right, half your problems are done, right? Because everything else is a distraction. So the finance team is fairly strong. And if you get that kind of a feedback in terms of like, look, I tried something, and what's the feedback? How did it track? What's the performance? Most good people, given the right incentives, given the right focus areas, will be able to figure it out. Is there more that we can do to enable them to take better decisions, given everything that's happening in marketing, analytics, big data, et cetera? Yes. Consumer profiling, I'll give you a very stark example. I'll tell you what we do, and I'll tell you what we don't do. We do programmatic sort of deep consumer insights, qualitative, almost ethnographies, wardrobe audits, right? So we do that every few years, like very deep studies. And then we do a whole bunch of sort of smaller studies. That gives us, at an organizational level, a little bit of an insight into it. We work with externals, right? We don't need like a fully functioning marketing team. Apart from that, with the GMs, what they do is they need to be extremely plugged in with what their consumers are telling us. See, there are two places where they get information. A GM is always on the floor, right? There's no corporate office. They're always on the floor. They're always walking around. They're understanding. They're seeing what type of customer is gravitating towards what categories, and that teaches them more about the consumer. I'm predominantly talking about offline. Salespeople are constantly having a conversation. Ma'am, you picked out 4 of these pieces. Okay, I'm just curious. You didn't like this one. She'll say something. No, I found something similar to that online, or I found something similar to that in the other store, or for that price, it doesn't look grand, right? These are all insights. Now, you can do it that way, or you can have a very deep sort of like 40-member, 50-member marketing team. I'm giving you an example on the other side. They will do the study, they will write the consumer insights deck, they'll do the consumer personas, like you kind of get it in a PPT, you kind of read it, and you're like, okay, cool, I know how to sell to it. If you ask me, it's far better for you to get that first-hand, on-ground information about your consumer, because the consumer keeps changing, and the best way for you to know how to solve your consumer's problem is for you to not have that illusion of control or insight that's being given to you by another division, right? Then you can finger point that division. You just have to figure it out yourself. So we literally take off all the training wheels. We don't give them a safety net. Finance is the only people who sort of talk to them, and then we believe that they can do it.
I would say you have really strong processes.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. Anish will kill me, and Vineet will join him for this. So thank you very much. Though Anish, my 40 minutes are over now. You are the best guy around, not the bad guy. Thank you very much. So we have different perspectives. True pricing, amazing thought. Then we have no discounting at all, manage it by the inventory. Then we have discounting is a necessity. And then we have Dave, who said that discounting is not a bad word. You need discounting, you need end of season sale to liquidate your all inventory. So I'm sure that it would have added some value to your. Okay, so it would have added some value. Thank you very much, friends. Thanks a lot. Thanks to the panel. Thank you.